What's up, guys? This is going to be the full card breakdown for UFC Fight Night, Teixeira versus Smith. It's coming up tonight, 6 o'clock start time for the early prelims. I actually wanted to get this video out yesterday. I had an issue with the file and had to redo it, so hopefully this is up early morning of the fights for you guys. There are a lot of interesting fights on this card, some accurate lines as well. I was going to talk about UFC 249 and the bets, but what I'm going to do is in the video for Saturday's card, at the beginning, I'm going to talk about this card as well as 249, the bets, and any of the performances that stand out. There was a couple fights that I wanted to talk about, Bryce Mitchell, as well as, of course, the main event. So there will be timestamps going forward. If you guys just want to hop ahead, into the predictions, feel free to do that. But we'll get into the card. So first fight of the night, we got Gabriel Benitez taking on Omar Morales. So Benitez, well-rounded fighter. I was actually a bit back and forth on this fight. I think, the power is going to go to Omar Morales. I think a lot of it will be contested on the feet, and I wouldn't be overly surprised to see Benitez, pick up a decision. I'm going to lean towards Omar Morales by TKO, but I'd say the line's accurate here. A lot of these lines that are 1.5 or 6, if you're kind of on the fence about it, sometimes what I like to do is, wait till the fight starts, if you can do live betting in your region. I'll wait till the fight starts. Once they mix it up a bit, you can get, better lines on those really big favorites, right? So something to think about, but I'm going to go with Omar Morales by TKO. Next up, we got Chase Sherman taking on Ike Villanueva. Another interesting fight here. Villanueva fights at light heavyweight as well. He's definitely going to be the smaller guy. I give him a bit of a speed advantage and possibly a cardio advantage, where Chase Sherman, I think, is going to have the power and the technical ability. I am going to lean towards Chase Sherman by TKO. If you got him at dog money, I think that's a really good bet. He's sitting at 1.7 now, so a lot of people took a shot on Sherman. And I do like him to win, but, I wouldn't be overly surprised to see Villanueva use the volume to either pick up a decision or tire out Sherman. But again, I'm going to go with Sherman by TKO. Next up, we got Hunter Azure and Brian Kelleher. This is an interesting fight. Brian Kelleher, back when he fought Renan Barao, he looked unstoppable. Since then, he's had a few not so good performances, and then came back in his last fight against Odie Osborne when a lot of people wrote him off, and he made it look easy, right? Got the choke in the first round. Hunter Azure, coming off the Contender Series, got a big win over Brad Katona, so he does have that experience inside the cage. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hunter Azure get it done. I do think the UFC, is looking at this as a setup fight, but I am going to go with Brian Kelleher as the dog. I'll say by submission. But again, I'd like to see him up a little bit higher, maybe 2.6 or 7 before I take a shot. Next up, we got Sijara Eubanks and Sarah Moras. Looking at the weigh-ins, I was a little bit surprised that, they were as close in size as they were. I thought Sijara Eubanks would be a little bit more filled out. Now, that said, fighters always look a lot smaller at weigh-ins, right? And then, of course, put on that water weight. But it just looked like they were pretty similar in size. And at 4 or 5 to 1, women's MMA, we got a 4-4 fighter in Sijara Eubanks, and 6-5 with Sarah Moras. I'm going to be the only one to take her, and it's strictly because of the odds. Sijara Eubanks, should probably be able to pick up the decision, but I'm going to take Sarah Moras by submission, and it's up at 4 or 5 to 1. So I might even throw a 10 or 20 on that one. Then we got Michael Johnson taking on Thiago Moises. So, another grappler, striker type of matchup here. I think Moises is going to look to get it to the ground, of course, to get the submission. We've seen Michael Johnson looking really good in fights, and then as soon as it hits the mat, it falls apart. So if he can keep it standing, though, I do think that he can have some success and potentially finish the fight. I'm going to say Michael Johnson by TKO in this fight. He did look really good at the weigh-ins, but, Moises, if it hits the mat, it could be a wrap. Next up, we got Andrei Arlovski and Felipe Lins. Lins won this past season of PFL, so, he took home the million. He's a quick fighter, pretty well-rounded. Arlovski's going to have the size advantage in this fight. He's been around forever. I used to bet him as the dog in the past, but, he's been robbed so many times. It's hard to put a bet on him at this point. I am going to lean towards Felipe Lins by TKO in this fight. But again, the line's pretty accurate. Then we got Carl Robertson and Marvin Vettori. To get straight into it, I do lean towards Vettori, but it is a hard one to call. We've seen Carl Robertson have some success Early on, he rocked Glover Teixeira, looked like he was on his way to picking up a win, and then, Glover took him down with ease and got that submission. So I do think Vettori is going to look to get it to the mat, or use his wrestling anyway. I'm going to say Vettori by submission. Next up, we got Borg taking on Ricky Simone. Another line that I do feel is pretty accurate. I thought Simone was going to look a little bit bigger than he did at the weigh-ins in comparison to Borg. A lot of people writing Borg off. I definitely think that he has more of a chance than people are giving him, but I am going to side with Ricky Simone. I think the line's accurate, though. So, not only this fight, like I said, Chase Sherman, Felipe Lins, if there's any of those fighters that you're looking to bet, you might want to look at the main event not to go the distance, to bump those odds up a bit. But, as far as Simone and Borg, I am, like I said, going to lean towards Ricky Simone. I'm going to say by TKO, but, I don't write off Borg. Then we got Drew Dober and Alexander Hernandez. This is a fight I'm really looking forward to. I think Drew Dober has really, found his stride right now, coming off that big win over Nasrat Haqparast. He has struggled with grapplers, though. So, depending on what type of game plan Hernandez comes in with, I could see him grinding out Drew Dober and picking up the decision, or even possibly the submission. But Dober has looked really good as of late. I'm actually going to take him by TKO in this fight, but it does have fight of the night potential. Not interested in a bet. I mean, if you did take a shot on Hernandez, I think it was 2.2 or 3. I'm not mad at that, but I'll be going with Dober by TKO. Next up, we got Ovince St. Preux taking on Ben Rothwell. Ovince St. Preux going up to heavyweight with the issues that he's had in the past with his cardio. I'm definitely not going to be betting on him. Ben Rothwell, didn't look good in his last fight against Stefan Struve. I did pick him to win, but he looked slow. Struve was getting the better of him. And he was lucky to pick up a win in that fight, in my opinion. So, if Ben Rothwell can put the pressure on, I do think that he might be able to pick up the win just, based off of the fact that Ovince St. Preux gasses all the way out. On the other side, Ovince St. Preux is definitely the more athletic guy. So early on, I do worry a bit for Ben Rothwell. As the fight progresses, though, I do think that he might be able to pick it up. It might even get the TKO just because Ovince St. Preux can't defend himself. He's so tired. So I will take Rothwell by TKO. Main event, Anthony Smith taking on Glover Teixeira. The line where it's at isn't that tempting. I do like Anthony Smith to win. I think that he can probably get him out of there. If you're looking at the bet, I think it's close to 1.9 for the TKO. It might be something to look at there if you're looking to bet Smith. Again, the fight not to go the distance, pairing that up with one of the fights where the odds aren't great, because I do think a lot of these lines are accurate. I will probably be doing a lot of live betting. There's a few spots Saturday as well. So, hopefully you guys come out on top after this card. Let me know who you guys have as far as betting goes. And that's it. I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.